Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide. Today we've got Donny B with us. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you for having me today.
That's such a pleasure. Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and what you do?
So I'm in the United States. I live in the state of Wisconsin,
Nice.
known for lots of its cheese
Uh-huh.
and
Same.
dairy. That's
Yeah.
what we do. Yep. And
Okay.
so, um, and I actually love the opportunity to share with the world the music and what we are doing and have been doing for quite a long time.
Great. So tell us a little bit more about the music and what have you been doing?
So, I've been doing music now for about oh man, a couple of decades.
Yeah.
And so I'm on my seventh music creation right now. And a lot of things that I do related to music is about most recently blending the frequencies of color mapped with the frequencies of sound,
Awesome.
um, because I believe that there are healing properties in
Absolutely.
both, and people are really becoming very fascinated about those two things, but it's never really been married together until recently. And through one of the projects that I started, one of the music projects was called Timbre, spelled Timbre. A lot of people pronounce it timber, but it's actually pronounced
Word
timbre.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so that project was the whole project. It was moving and helping people understanding the frequencies of color mapped to the frequencies of sound. All of the music that was done out of that project
Uh-huh.
was in that particular lane, but there was every genre in that project that was done and done differently. And none of the musicians at the time we did that project were ever together at all, ever.
Sense. For me, it's music to my ears because I look at color as a psychology. So color gives you some kind of experience through, what you feel, how you feel, and then the sound and the frequencies, which I also look at. And I think there's been some ancient medicines that were also based on frequencies and sound healing, right?
There
And
have been.
I think fashion and music also aligns together too, because it's kind of what you're wearing and the image that you portray on stage as well as off stage, right? And what kind of and what kind of emotions you're trying to invoke through that.
Yeah, the interesting you talk about the ancient
Mm.
frequencies of ancient sounds. I don't know how much truth there is to this, but I have read something and it was fascinating to me that the ancient Egyptians actually had these yeah, I know, like, yeah, had these tunnels in their pyramids, the when people were ill, they would lay people in these tunnels, and these tunnels emitted a frequency of sound that went through, and they believed it created like healing to the bodies of some of that stuff. And like I said, I don't know how true it is. I don't know how much stuff has been documented on that, but it was pretty fascinating to me. So.
Likewise. And it's amazing how you can also get sound to work with, for example, water as well, and see how those frequencies interact with other objects and sounds, right?
So that's very fascinating to me too, because one of the teachings that I have out on YouTube talks about creation and how we were created and our original intent of our bodies and how we were created. And since most of our bodies are made out of water,
Yeah.
there's a lot of studies on how our bodies respond to the frequencies of sound. When you change the different frequencies, we can have a rigid and aggressive emotion versus a soft, gentle, or more subdued, surreal kind of feeling or emotion, which all of that's just fascinating to me too, because it maps in not only sound frequencies, but to how we were actually created in the first
Right.
place, which is cool.
And also genres as well, right? Because different genres of music give you different emotions and different feelings as well.
They do, which is fun for me too, because it does it that naturally works for me and it always has. But now, through some of my the music that I've done, I've learned and understand why.
Okay, that sounds cool. So how long have you been doing music for? You said a couple of decades now. Did you have
Yeah.
a musical experience and education? How did you get into
So So my primary instrument is sax, and then my secondary is percussion. And you know, I play a lot of different instruments, but those are the two that I kind of do when I go out and play. That's those I'm usually playing sax and percussion all the time. But sax is my major instrument. People, they hear Daddy B, they know hear the sax, they know that's that sound. I've been playing probably since I was 12 or 13 years old.
Okay.
Um, and it's probably didn't start playing professionally until I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And so, um, you know, but I never, for me, this was always just a fun thing to do. I never expected to what I'm experiencing now in my music and traveling and playing and doing different stuff and being in different audiences and having people feeling the sound. So this has just been a real fun and a new ride.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
very grateful and I appreciate it.
That's really, really good. And well done to you for doing that. So tell us a little bit more about the challenges and barriers that you've had to face coming into the music industry.
Um, they're still there.
Hmm.
You know, there's a lot of things in the in the music industry that one of the things I'll tell you that excuse me is I think as I look back at the music industry from the years ago to today,
Hmm.
the challenge that exists today that still exists from back then was at certain people only got certain opportunities based upon who they knew and who could help them produce what they needed to produce and wanted to produce and get their sound and their music out there.
That's still the same.
It's still the same, right? It really is. It really is. It's still the same. And so, but what I can tell you in the music industry that really has changed somewhat is it's made it easier. Technology has changed so much. It's made it easier for an artist to get their sound out there than it was in the past. You don't have to, you're not as dependent upon folks like you used to be and have to be. So that's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Um, so there has been some advances in that area, I guess.
Yes.
So yeah,
But I think it might be easier for you because you've already had a reputation and you've gained a lot. But when you're coming into the industry, it's actually more competitive and it's a lot harder to break through that noise because
it
there's more,
really is.
yeah, there's less gatekeepers. And I think this is part of the problem that we've had is it's become less decentralized. However, there's more competition. Anyone can make music if they've got the money in the back end. And then a lot of the
Yes.
time it's not what you know, it's who you know as well. So there's a lot going on in the background. How important has faith been for you to get you to where you are right now and the music that you're bringing out?
So faith is a big part of who I am, as just a person, you know. My music always is positive, encouraging, and uplifting, and I will never, ever, ever change from my music being anything of that. It will always be honoring to me and the people and my faith and my Lord as well.
Yeah.
I'm very specific about that, you know, and I really don't apologize for that at all. But I also think that that change and that significance has set me apart
Mm.
from mainstream and what people are, you know, we can talk and about a lot of different things in music, but for me, music is all about the sound. It's all about the emotion it evokes. It's all about that. And so faith has been a huge part of that. The people that are all that I work with on all of my music, they all have tended to be folks with a similar background, right? And so, and I've worked with a lot of folks who their careers, especially like in heavy metal and stuff like that, that have recorded on Daddy V's other albums, their background started off very being much about the world and the world that they live in and all about that flash. And then they started with a life of faith and changed their mindset. And it's changed the sound of the music that they've actually now put out and produce and who they are because they've now are reaching the core essence of who they are as individuals. And that's powerful when it comes through the sound of what they produce. And so I try to get with people
From the
with
side.
me
Yeah.
who have that similar that you know are more yoked with what we're trying to accomplish from a faith place.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
it's a big deal.
That makes a lot of sense actually. And how important has identity been for you and being different as well? because I think that really helps. Like, did you come into the industry trying to make a difference and a positive change? Did you want to highlight an issue where you're telling a story? What was it really about music that you wanted to be in it so much?
Well, if I'm being honest, in the beginning, it really was just me coming into the industry trying to be all about me.
Okay.
So, yeah, so
Hmm.
initially my focus was really trying to do what I thought needed to be done. And it really wasn't until I had to actually lay that down and realize that it didn't matter to me if anybody listened or liked any of the sounds that was
That's so
producing.
true.
And, it really just came to the point where I was just gonna just do what I do, and if anybody liked it, great. If people didn't like it, I had to be okay with that. And it got to the point when it stopped being about me and for me. Well, that's what's so funny because that's when I feel um it became an issue where God turned things over for me and said, "You know what? Now you get it. Now you understand. Now watch what I can do for you."
Do
And
you know
so, and
that's
that's
amazing?
and that's really what it's really what the change was because and then from that point on, I mean, I feel like I started really living the dream of what I really wanted to do. I'm it's not by my might at all, it's by his. So, and I give that unashamedly. So,
Really
yeah.
feel that actually. And I think, all the dark times in my life, all the times when I thought, I don't know if I'm going to get through this, I always turned to God. And
Yeah.
actually, God brought me to music because both my parents were deaf and my mom's African American English, my dad's Spanish and English. There's a lot of cultural differences going on. And there were some hard times in my family. So I think it was about church and, finding faith in God. But that also brought me to music, which is what gave me that voice for communication. So it kind
Right.
of all fitted hand in hand, right? So
Right.
I think faith has got me through so much. And without it, I don't know if I'd still be here, to be quite fair with you, because it's a battle of the wills half the time.
It really is.
Yeah,
Yeah. And we have an enemy that's alive and well out there that's trying to twist the world of our thinking on things that what is right is wrong, up is down, down is up, and it's really confusing to a
upside
lot of
down.
people. And I'm at the point I just want to figure out we just need to figure out how to bring the love back, right?
Absolutely.
Just bring the love back.
And the positivity. That's what
Yes.
it does, right? And it's
Yes.
really funny because I think of things and sometimes I'm in my set ways. And I actually go to church as well on a Sunday. So I still do that. And I've done that since a child. And it's really funny because I'll think a certain thing and I'll go to church and I'll be like, what would God do? Or what would God say to me in that situation? How can I channel God through me? And put my message out, what God's telling me to do rather than what I'm thinking I should do. So I always double check with him because I trust him and I know he
Well,
loves
you
me.
you have got it figured out then. So
Right.
that's the key is to start there, check with him and make sure that you're aligned with what your heart and your spirit is in line with
Yeah.
and then you'll be in the right place.
Yeah, I think so. And I just follow my heart and my passion. So, you've obviously been in the music industry a long time. What's the music industry like down where you are right now? Has it changed a lot? Has it become more inclusive, more diverse? And what's the music scene saying?
It's very diverse. Like I recently a year or so ago, actually 2 years ago now, in 2023, in summer of 22, I signed with Bentley Records. And
Okay,
so
like a Bentley.
and yeah,
Sounds
and
ironic.
so I know, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I have a lot to thank for them. They have helped me so much understand the music industry today. It's all technical. It's not about how many records you sell anymore.
Mhm.
It's not about that at all. And that used to be how it was back in the day, right? You
Good
slip
music
the
industry.
you
It's
slip the
okay.
DJs and the stuff $100, and then you put your record on the air, and next thing you
Right.
know, you're
Get
blowing up.
paid.
But
And
that
they get
right, that's
paid.
not it's not like that at all today.
No.
It's really about streams and downloads, right? Just streaming and downloads, and that's the key. And so, what I found is that it's really tough to
No,
get
you need to get out
connected
into a
to
live. It's the
you.
live that's going to bring the money in, the merchandise, not the streams and the other stuff. That's not going to bring you in a penny.
No, it's not because you have to do like get stream like I do 1,000 streams to make like $10. I mean, come
Right?
on,
Not
right?
even
Yeah.
that. And
So
how's that going to pay for the bills that you paid to make the music in the first place?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
This is where I think
Exactly.
the music industry is going wrong a little bit.
Well, and for me, I have a home studio. And so that has really drastically cut down and saved on a lot of costs is when you can do things at home or when I'm working on a track and I can talk to a buddy of mine, or a female friend of mine, an artist, and I can be like, hey, I'm working on this track. I'm gonna send it to you. I want you to do your thing and send it back to me. And then we can do it that way. And then I can put it all together at home, right?
Yeah.
So that's huge. So yeah,
And you've got your own privacy of your own home. So you don't have to like go out and all these other bits and bobs that you have to deal with sometimes.
you
And
do. You do.
I think that's the tricky part for me. And the financial part, how did you find that in the beginning? Like starting out and making that getting that equipment and being able to afford that. How did that happen?
I just started off with the cheapest stuff that I could find
That's
and
what I'm doing right now.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You do what you can with what you have, right? So the
Right.
stuff I started off with in the beginning was kind of garbage, and it's kind of funny. The music that I produced over the years, you can totally tell the difference
Starting
in
point,
the sound, in the quality of the
right?
equipment that I had
Yeah.
from the beginning and to now. In fact, the first recording we actually did, I didn't record it. We went somewhere to get it done, and it was done on a cassette tape, right?
Okay.
So.
Yeah, yeah, I remember the old cassette tape. Cool. Well, that's so cool. I love.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about like, you've been in the industry a long time. What would you like to see improve? What would you like to see make it a lot easier for artists to get into the game, but also developed? Because a lot of these artists now, there's no development stage. They're just left
Yeah.
with their own devices.
Yeah. So an artist that actually is established or even up and coming, one of the significant things is that exposure, right? And so um getting good exposure, for me, I love doing outdoor events.
Yeah,
I'm not the Yeah, those are the venues that I tend to gravitate to. If somebody calls and says, "Hey, will you come here? We want you to come and do this thing," and it's an outdoor festival. Yeah, I love those. Those are
nice
fun for
one.
me.
Yeah,
Um, so getting opportunities to get those exposures of things is really important. But also not compromising who you are for that exposure.
that's important. Very, very important because I've found that myself. You align yourself with certain values and certain goals, and you want to work with those same people, right? And not everyone has that for you.
It's very important. It's very
Mm,
important. You need to know who you are, what you're willing to do, what you're willing not to do. And you know what? I found just having really good conversations with people, once they get to know you, if they like your sound and what you're doing, they really don't care about anything else. And the music industry, really, let's be honest, is still about money, making money. Folks want to make money, right? And I get that. But you have to be careful on what you're willing to compromise for that too.
yes, and try and keep as much of your rights and creative direction as possible because that
Well,
makes
I'll
it authentic, right?
Yeah, now I will say with Bentley, wow, they really have been very honoring to me in that where they have allowed me to 100% retain the rights of all of the music that I produce.
That's
I
good.
mean,
That's your
that
best.
is unheard of in the industry, like to do that. But I think we've made so many. I mean, I think about, the fight that, basically that Prince had to go through and some of the, Taylor Swift had to
Michael
go through and
Jackson had
some of
to
the other larger artists have had to go through to fight for the rights of their own. So I think the music industry has learned that, okay, we need to probably change something here. And they learned from those mistakes, which is good. So, but those are the folks that kind of went before many of us and are still doing it now, fighting for the rights for their stuff. Um, there's nothing wrong with someone helping you and making a profit off of what you do, but you don't need to strip the rights away of the people who are actually doing it.
or exploit them either.
Correct. Right. I agree.
Part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So, do you think cultural and age differences have a massive part to play on how far we can what we can achieve and how far we can go in terms of diversity and inclusion in the music industry?
That has a lot to do with social media, in my
Mm,
opinion.
doesn't it?
Yeah, so um I feel like music. is ageless. And
Timeless.
right, right. So it can go out there and a lot of times I look at the demographics of the people who are actually looking at and listening to my music, and it's funny. There's an age group of like 25 to 35, and then there's an age group of 35 to 55. And those are the two largest
Yeah.
age groups. And I look at that and I go, I could like, well, that's everybody like that's listening to the music that's being produced or the movements of sound, as I like to call it,
Yeah.
that is going out into the atmosphere, which is cool. And if it's affecting that large of a span of folks, well, that's exciting.
And I'm thinking more about the structures within the music business itself. Do you think that that represents, where we're at today and how far we can go in terms of, who's in decision making rooms, who's got the power? Has that changed at all? Is that getting better?
It has changed a little bit. Um, it has gotten a little better. I think we have a long way to go as far as balancing that out. As far as
Yeah,
you still look at the record labels, the owners, the producers, the folks who are acquiring talent and promoting talent. You don't see a whole lot of people of color in those industries in charge of those things. They're always working for folks in those industries, but
yeah.
there are some, and it's gotten better than from 10 years ago or even 20 years ago.
I'm glad to hear that actually, and that's what I want to hear. But I think we've still got a long way to go. I totally agree with you on that one for sure. So
Yes.
coming up with you next in your music path and what you're doing, what you're up to, tell us a little bit more.
Well, the Colorology EP that came out is actually doing very well. I'm happy to say it's
Amazing.
actually doing well in Europe right now. So
Yay, that's what we want to hear.
but it's also doing well in Korea, believe it or not. So I that's fascinating to me, and so I'm excited about that. The next project that I'm working on right now that I'm hoping to, if I get all of my ducks in a row, is going to be the Colorology II, which should be released by the end of this year. And it's going to be featuring taking the sounds of yesterday
Hmm.
and now mapping them with the sounds of today.
Okay.
So it's like taking
Reminiscing.
rhythms and grooves with like the trap sounds of today versus an old Hammond organ Leslie sound into the thing, like from old school to new school, or blending in some more of the gospel R&B flavors into the sounds, or mixing some Latin jazz in with some other
Okay.
things. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to get a lot of different flavors into what I still love doing my blended music and blended sounds with blended genres. And so it will always end up being like that, just always with a twist.
That's really, really nice actually. And just you said it, you actually said it before me. I was like, it is a bit like cooking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like refining your crafts and making a nice juicy meal from different tastes and
Just
flavors,
add a little spice of this, a little spice of
right?
that, little bit of
Right.
this and the other, and you get a lot of cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So yeah.
congratulations for all the great work you're doing and what you're achieving right now. You totally deserve that. Do you know what I mean? And
Thank
I'm
you.
sure you've put a lot of hard work into it. How could the listeners find you or find out more about your music, connect with you, or go and buy your music and listen to it?
So they can go to my website at daddyb.com.
Okay.
And that is the fastest way to get all of the information about me and Daddy B, where all the music is listed. I'm also on thanks to Bentley Records, I'm on every major platform that's out there. There's probably, I think, 30 different platforms that they have us out there. But, the iTunes, the Spotify, the YouTube, wherever people like to go to, you type in Daddy B. And if you type in Daddy B dash colorology,
I'll look
you'll
on.
get the most recent music that's out there. So
Amazing.
stay tuned for Daddy B and Colorology 2.
Wow, that sounds awesome. And tell us a little bit more about obviously you've been in music, you're moving forwards. What are you hoping to achieve and what is it you want to kind of what is the story about and your personal journey on this?
So for me, it's really all about the movement of sound and having people understand the revelations that I have now through the musical journey. We were why we were created, and we were created to worship, and through the music that we do, and the sounds that created. So I don't call them songs, I call them movements of sound
Okay.
because it maps to creation, right? And the frequencies of sound and the colors of sound all maps to creation. For me, the projects, especially the timbre project, took me back to Genesis 1, which is why I speak in the way that I
Oh,
speak.
yeah.
The sound and the music and everything that I do took me back to that
Of the
place.
universe.
And so, right. And so a lot of people who don't get it or don't understand it or don't have a faith background, they get curious and then they go look into, well, what's he talking about? And so that to me is kind of cool because it causes people, and then people who will reach out to me and they'll be like, well, I don't have a faith background and I don't know anything about this Genesis 1 stuff, but I actually went and looked. Now I think I understand and get it. And I liked your music and the sound, so it keeps them connected to a different way that they've never been connected to maybe their faith or to God or to anything like that in a different way, which is kind of cool.
Awesome. And the power of music as well, because it is universal and it can touch people, you know, even if they don't speak the language. So how important do you find that, and what and how you use that tool in the right way?
That is the key. I love to get feedback from people when they're hearing the sound or the music and they email me and they write me and they tell me, you don't understand when I heard this song, or because some of my songs have words and some of them don't. It's just sometimes it's just the sound that they're hearing in the music, right? And they're like, when I heard this, this is what it did for me, or I was going through this and it helped me, or I was feeling this and I felt I was healed or delivered from this about because I heard this song and something in it caused and triggered this. And when I get those kinds of things, I love that kind of feedback because and I actually save them all.
You've
I I
connected them in a way
I love
personally.
that.
Yeah, it's a
Yes,
personal
yeah.
connection that you might not have been thinking when you writ the song, but they've interpreted it that way, right?
Yeah, right.
It's
And a lot
awesome.
of times, sometimes I'll respond to if something's really touched me, I'll respond personally back to people and talk to them personally and be like, yeah, thank you
Personal
for
connections and
this.
networking is extremely important, I think, you know,
Yeah.
maintaining relationships, but also being nice to people and respecting people is extremely important. I think,
Yes.
especially in music, not everyone does treat people nicely, and certain people have egos and agendas and having to deal with all that. I'm sure you know about that. So tell us a little bit more about how you've navigated those situations.
You know, I just allow the opportunity. Like I said, it's time to bring the love back, right? And so through love
Please,
and
Lord.
I know, right? Through love and the examples of love, you
Yeah.
know, we don't spend a lot of time talking about what love really is, and that helps us how we navigate relationships
How
or
we see
dealing
the
with
world,
people.
how we see
Yes.
the world as well.
It is. We if we spent time going back to teaching about what love is,
Mhm.
like being patient and not being envious and not boasting or
Right?
seeking any wrongdoings and keeping any record of wrong or not being easily angered. When we start talking and teaching people about those things and we're like, love always protects and it always hopes and it always perseveres. If we go back to that mindset, then when we're dealing with people, we won't have any communication issues or relationship issues because you know what? For me, the secret has always been if you need to prefer others before yourself.
Mhm. That's a really, really nice piece of advice that you put, because I think for me, I've struggled with love personally from my own family situations, but I've always found love in God. And when in those times where I've actually not felt I had that love, I've got love for others, but I don't always
Right,
love. So I think I receive consistent love from the Lord above. And that love
right,
is everlasting and it's strong and it's always there. And in those times where I feel really down and I don't always feel that I receive love that that I would like to feel, that, I think, look, the Lord provides that for me. My mentor
absolutely.
provides that for me, so there's other ways of loving something, or finding a love in the world and seeing the world in a different way, because it's very much a spiritual thing. And as I've evolved through my music, so is my spiritual journey as well. It's really funny.
Right. Well, Jesus showed us and is the best teacher and gave us the example of love. And he was the example that showed us how to prefer others before ourselves.
I'm always doing that. And I think that's the mistake I make. Even in the music industry, I'm helping everyone else out. And it was something you said earlier, and it's like, it's about me. I came into the industry and it was all about community and making a community and everybody else. But I'm slowly starting to realize that the music industry doesn't really work like that, Sass. I was kind of
Right.
like a
Yeah.
new innovative thought that I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to help everyone. Everyone's going to help me. It doesn't really work like that.
No, it does not, unfortunately.
You live and learn. You do good things, and I'm sure they'll come back, but I don't do them for that reason. Do you know what I mean? I do good things because it's in my heart, and that's the way I want the world to be. But I
Right.
inspire others to do so. So that's something in itself.
Yes.
What kind of major wins and successes have you achieved before we go? And we'll leave it there after that.
The things that helped me be successful really has been opportunities like this, being here with you and
Thank you very
doing a
much.
podcast. I appreciate you. So
Thank you very much.
I take that as a big win. I take nothing for granted anymore, right? I just
Should never do.
pe people want to talk to me and hang out and do that. So I love doing these interviews and just talking about so many different things and exposing people to new things that they may not be willing to talk about or have not been willing to talk about in the past. And so that's really been a tribute to my success. I've stayed true to who I am as an individual. That has been a key. I've I tried to compromise some of that when I was younger and starting off because I thought I had to be. I was being what people told me I was supposed to be and
What you
doing the
think,
music,
right?
doing music that people thought as a black male that is what I was supposed to do or the sound I was supposed to
Right.
have. And I
Exactly.
realized, you know what? That's not me. And I can do all different sounds and I can do
Exactly.
whatever is inside of me can come out and produce. And so that has really helped me. And because of that, I've gotten other artists that have reached out to me now and I'm producing their sounds and helping them get their thing out there. I'm working on a project right now with 7 different other artists trying to get their project completed. So it's been a fun journey for me. I look forward to more opportunities to have conversations with wonderful people like yourself and have opportunities to come to their communities like yours and maybe do like some kind of live show and have some fun that way with other
Yeah.
artists and other music and have their DNA imparted in with what we're trying to do from a music standpoint and produce this sound.
Well, if there's anything I can do, please do let me know. I'm always here for you. You've got an ally across the pond. Always help you where I can and support you where I can. Thank you very much for your story, your expertise, and your energy. It's been awesome.
Appreciate you very much. I'm humbled by the opportunity for the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.